PlayStation comments on Xbox Game Pass. There is a new Microsoft patent that could be very exciting, especially if you're somebody that has a lot of physical games but also has a digital console. EA responds to the criticism and news going around about ads entering video games, and we have more information about Summer Games Fest. So yesterday we got the Sony financial reports. We took a look at them. I talked about them in my video from yesterday, and there was some information out there, some good, some bad. The thing that Sony missed out was on their actual console sales. They missed their mark in terms of what they had projected they would be able to sell, and a big reason for that was because obviously they didn't have the supply to meet the demand for the console. We know what's been going on with the chip shortage stuff, and Sony not being able to push as much product out there as they would like. In fact, they've even increased their projections for this year because seemingly they're going to be able to get more PS5s out there to the consumer. So when it comes to their actual console shipped, they hit around 11.5 million PS5s in fiscal year 21, and their goal was 14.8. But for this upcoming fiscal year, this fiscal year ending March 2023, as I mentioned, they're thinking they're going to be able to sell around 18 million units. And the big push for the PlayStation 5 console to sell as many units as possible, as we know, it's because it's their main business strategy to get people within their ecosystem to play their first party games. From the beginning of this generation, Jim Ryan and Sony and PlayStation, they've been talking about how they do not want to deteriorate their first party games, and that's why they had to increase the price of their games by $10, charging their customers $70 now, and that they believe that putting games into a subscription service will deteriorate these games, and they've now doubled down on this take. This comes via the Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki, who was discussing PlayStation exclusives launching into PlayStation Plus. As we know, the PS Plus rebranding is coming in just a month from now, and one of the big things people wanted to know was whether the first-party games were going to land in the service day and date, and obviously once they made that announcement, it was confirmed that they weren't. Now, we still don't know if these games are going to be coming at a later time, like maybe they'll wait 6 months or maybe a year after the release of their first party games and then throw them into the PlayStation Plus service. But when it comes to actually putting their games in there, overall, they have a very negative opinion on putting first party games into a subscription service. So Hiroki Totoki had this to say: AAA titles on PS5, if we distribute that on subscription services, we may need to shrink the investment needed for that, and that will deteriorate the first party title quality, and that is our concern. This comes all the way back to stuff that Jim Ryan had touched on back in March, talking about the virtuous cycle. He kept using this term, the virtuous cycle, when it came to Sony's first party game, saying, we feel like we're in a good virtuous cycle with the studios where the investment delivers success, which enables yet more investment, which delivers yet more success. We like that cycle, and we think our gamers like that cycle. That first quote there to me just sounds like we think that our gamers still are willing to spend more money on our games because we've told them that our games are of higher quality and more value than anything out there on the market. So we can raise our prices by $10 and they will give us their money. Then he continues on here to say, in terms of putting our own games into this service or any of our services upon their release, as you well know, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road that we're going to go down with this new service. We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want. So there you have it. This is a notion that Sony truly believes in. They know that the perceived value of their games amongst a large group of their fans and gamers who play on PlayStation is that their games need more money in order to keep them at the quality that they are at. That's why they charge the $70, and people have no problem taking that money out of their pocket and throwing it at Sony. That's why they're telling people that, hey, you should give us $70 for every single one of our first party games rather than paying us $18 a month for PlayStation Plus Premium, where you're going to get access to all of our games, but also get access to a bunch of other stuff and just get great value for your money, which is what we see with Xbox Game Pass. And the key thing here is the perceived value of PlayStation games. Objectively, yes, they are very, very high quality, very high quality AAA games. They make some of the best games within the video game industry. I am definitely not denying that. But the perceived notion Sony has created amongst gamers and amongst their fan base is that they are higher than everything else by a long shot. They need more money in order to keep up that quality, which I just personally believe is completely untrue. What I think Sony is doing is that they know that they are able to double down on their customers. They know they're going to be able to get their diehard customers and people who play primarily on PlayStation and have all their friends there, don't know what else is out there on the market in terms of what's available on Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that, that they're going to be able to double down in the sense they're going to get the $70 for the first party games, as well as they're going to get the subscription fee, and they're going to be trying to make more money by doing that rather than what Xbox is doing, which is just trying to get as many people in the ecosystem, no matter where they are, trying to grow that subscription as high as possible and giving gamers the most amount of value. And with that alone, they know that they'll have loyal customers staying within their ecosystem for years and years and years, and they're going to be able to make money off of them monthly from Game Pass, as well as them still purchasing games through the Xbox store, still purchasing first-party Xbox games, even though they are subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. Which is a point that I think Sony is also missing, because if you look at the first-party games that Xbox has, even though they are released day one on Xbox Game Pass, like look at Forza Horizon 5, they still sell millions of copies no matter what platform they're on, whether that's Xbox or on PC. And I think a game like Forza Horizon 5 completely destroys the narrative that by putting your game into a subscription service that it deteriorates the actual quality of the games. But hey, we'll see more first-party Xbox games coming out in the next number of years. June 12th is going to be a huge day, and it's the opportunity for Xbox to really destroy this narrative in the sense that they're going to show people, if they pull it off, that, hey, we have very high quality first party games. You get them day one into Xbox Game Pass. You sign up to our ecosystem, and you're going to continue to receive these high quality first party games for years to come, and they won't deteriorate because they are in within Xbox Game Pass. All right, moving on here to a new patent that has been discovered from Microsoft that is going to allow you to use physical games to be verified for digital use. Now, as we know, we have the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, and there has been a lot of talk out there about whether Xbox would ever allow you to connect an external disk drive to play your physical games on your Xbox Series S, or maybe release a Series S with a disk drive, just make it, I guess, a little bit bigger. But we have this patent here that has been discovered, which I'm actually very excited for, and I hope it actually does come to fruition. And basically, it's just going to allow you to use an external disk drive, connect it to your Xbox Series S or any digital-only console, pop in your disc, and then you will be verified that you own that physical game, and you will be granted a license to be able to play that game on your all-digital console. Now, it's completely unclear whether this means you only have to do it once, or every time you want to play the game, you're going to have to connect that external drive, pop in the game to verify that you own it. But from what they're saying here from the article, it makes a lot of sense. You probably will have to verify it every single time, because you can literally just take any disc and then verify once, then have it forever. If your friend owns it, or if you rent it or something, even though I don't know if you really can rent physical games anymore, but you guys know what I mean. But Brad Sams also had some stuff to say about this patent, saying, back in 2018, I wrote about a disc to digital for converting your Xbox physical games to digital entitlements. Looks like Microsoft got the patent for it recently. Shows off the article, and then they also patent as well. So this is something that's potentially been in the works for a while now, for about 4 or 5 years. And it seems like this is something I think a lot of people would love to see. It's another, I think, pro-consumer move by Xbox if they were to do this. I really hope they do this, because I'm somebody who likes having physical, but this generation I've been pretty much digital just because I have the Series S alongside the Series X, and being able to hop between both consoles and with the quick resume and jumping in exactly where I was on the previous console is a big thing for me now. So having the physical game kind of gets rid of that, and you're kind of stuck playing on the Xbox Series X. I was always hoping they would do something. Being able to even just attach an external hard drive, I think, would be a big step in the right direction for this. It's also very pro-consumer in the sense that if this patent comes out and they actually implement this into the Xbox consoles, they are saying, hey, we don't even care if you are not stuck solely buying digital because you have an Xbox Series S. They're allowing people to still have that option to pick up a physical game with an all digital console. And you'd think they wouldn't want that to happen, because they would want people staying all digital, getting more profits, staying all within the Xbox store. All right, jumping over here to Summer Game Fest. Now, as we know, June just around the corner, a couple weeks away, and it is going to be a massive month for game announcements and showcases, especially for Xbox and Bethesda. As we know, the Xbox and Bethesda showcase is on June 12th. We got some more information as to what Summer Game Fest is going to be all about. So firstly, it is a live cross-industry showcase on Thursday, June 9th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the showcase says here that it promises to show what's next in gaming with huge new game announcements, world premieres, special guests, and much more. Then, of course, the Xbox Games and Bethesda showcase on June 12th as well. But Jeff Keighley spoke with the Epic Game Store and he had some more information and more thoughts on what Summer Game Fest is going to be all about and how the industry as a whole is taking on showcases this year. So firstly, Summer Game Fest is going to include a number of big streams from developers and publishers. He says here, I think everything's going to be really compact within a matter of weeks as the industry sort of represents itself to the wider world in June with everyone sort of doing events. I know there's a prevailing sentiment that everyone likes everything kind of packed in 2 days or 3 days or something like that. But that's really hard to do because companies want to own specific days, which I mean is what we've seen so far with Xbox coming out early and announcing, hey, we're taking June 12th. That's your day. Everyone else, beware, because if you come on that day, we're going to overshadow you. So you're not going to really, I don't think, see anything else happening on June 12th. We have no information about Nintendo, Sony, Capcom, any of these other big publishers or developers that want to have days to show off games. We don't know if anything else is going to occur or if they're all just going to throw stuff within Summer Games Fest. Continues on here to say, so I don't know if we're ever going to go back to that old model of everything being sort of compacted into just a couple of days. Again, the sentiment that companies want to own the days, so you're only thinking about and focusing on their specific games and developers. Now, he also talks about the overall presentation and if there are going to be huge blockbuster announcements compared to what we've seen in previous years. And he says here, it's not just how companies are set up today. I mean, there are more live service games. I look at the landscape now, and the most exciting stuff for me is coming from a lot of these independent studios or venture-backed companies versus the big traditional publishers. So he's insinuating here that there may not be that many big blockbuster announcements compared to previous years with Summer Game Fest, because obviously you have Xbox doing their own show, Sony and Nintendo potentially going to be doing their own show when they announce it, if they decide to do it. And like he said, games as a service, these are games that come out and they last for years and years. You don't get all of the content in one time, and they're always continuously expanding and adding more exciting stuff to it. So it's hard to kind of have this big announcement for a massive game that everyone's going to be playing and experiencing everything at the same time, similar to what we saw when they showed off Elden Ring and then they dropped the Elden Ring game and you have everything within that game and everybody gets to play it and experience it all at once. But Summer Games Fest should be fun, June 9th to 12th. It's always a couple of days of good streams, good games to talk about. And there's going to be a huge exclamation point at the end with the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, with hopefully just an absolutely amazing show that blows everybody away and gives us insight as to what we can expect from Xbox now and in the future. Okay, and to end off today's video, let's talk about in-game ads. This was something that everybody was talking about a couple of weeks ago. There was a controversy because Xbox came out and people were saying, oh, Xbox wants to put games into their ads. And then the next week, PlayStation came out and said the same thing. But EA touched on this. Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, talked about games for Xbox and PlayStation getting advertising, and specifically plans for a free-to-play advertising program, saying, we want to ensure that the player experience is the best possible player experience that we can provide. And that's why you've seen us kind of test various ad models over the course of time. What we've seen generally, though, in entertainment, media, and even games, particularly in mobile games right now, you see that there is a place for advertising when done right. You should expect that we would continue to kind of test different things, ensuring first and foremost that we uphold the best possible player experience, but where there is an audience that, given the choice, would like to engage with advertising, they have the ability to do so. We want to make that available to them. My overall opinion on putting ads in games is that for free-to-play games, it makes sense. Like, you need to have a way for these developers to make revenue off of a game they're all getting to experience for free. For paid games, there's already been ads in paid games, none that I've ever experienced that have taken away my immersion. I would personally not like to see any ads in paid games if you're paying full price for a video game, but if they're in there, as long as they kind of integrate with the game and make sense for the game that it's in, like I've seen them in sports games and racing games, it isn't that big of a deal. So it'll be interesting to see how EA does this, how they test it out. We know Apex Legends is coming out on mobile, I believe May 17th, and I feel like they're going to be using that for a lot of experimentation with their ad program, but we'll see what happens. I mean, for mobile games, ads have always been there. Sometimes they're very intrusive and very annoying. As long as that doesn't creep in to the bigger budget AAA, AA console and PC games, I don't think it will be that huge of an issue. That's it for me, guys. What do you think about PlayStation's comments on putting games into a subscription service? What do you think about the Microsoft Patent Summer Games Fest? Are you excited for that? What do you want to see out of the showcases that are going to be involved with that? And ads in games, what are your overall thoughts? And do you think it's okay to put ads in paid games? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.